Thank you very much, Bishop Bullock and Vice President Haywood, Secretary Wendt. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Gerhardt, and with me is Emily Phillips. We are directors of the Lutheran Services for the Aging Keeping the Promise Capital Campaign. But we are keenly aware that though we hold the title director, it is only by the direction of the Holy Spirit on which we depend that what we are about to do and engage with you will thrive and grow. We are keeping the promise through the planned growth of our ministries and trying to meet the current and anticipated needs of older adults throughout our Synod by engaging in this capital campaign, and that's what we want to share with you today. But we would like to begin by singing the hymn, God of Promise, sung to a beloved Welsh tune. The Crescent View Singers from the Independent Living and Assisted Living Facility of LSA in Arden, and Trinity Singers from our Continuing Care Retirement Community, Trinity Oaks in Salisbury, will sing the first stanza, and we will join them in stanzas 2 and 3. They are under the direction of Todd Chambers from Arden. Dr. Don Armitage, who is the cantor of the Lutheran Church, Augsburg Lutheran Church in Winston-Salem, is our accompanist. The copies of the hymn were handed out at the beginning of this afternoon session. If you don't have one, please raise your hand and we'll make sure that you do. A moment ago, I referred to the ministries of Lutheran Services for the Aging as our ministries. The ownership of LSA is indeed broad and deep, and in order to actually see a slice of that breadth and depth, we have a few requests of you.
Please stand and remain standing as you are able if you or someone in your family was a member of the original board of LSA, which at its inception in 1960 was called North Carolina Lutheran Homes. Now, this includes those of you who may have taken part in the initial planning in the late 50s before the first board meeting. Please stand. Now would you please stand if you are a current or a former member of an LSA board, and remain standing as you are able. And now would you please stand if you are already a Keeping the Promise campaign volunteer or donor.
And please stand if you have ever been a resident of one of the LSA facilities or have had a family member or a friend who has been a resident of one of the LSA facilities. Wow.
Now please stand if you have ever made a gift to or volunteered at a ministry of Lutheran Services for the Aging.
And now would you please stand if you are a day older today than you were yesterday. Well, we look forward to all of you keeping up that practice. Please be seated.
Again, in the power of the Holy Spirit, we have named our campaign Keeping the Promise. Our life with God is centered on the promise God made first to Abraham and Sarah, to be in covenant with us and to always be our God. Our faith is filled with promise, continually restated by the prophets and fulfilled in Jesus Christ.
As we live in the God of promise, we are privileged to join God in keeping our promises to others along with Him. And our promise to keep as LSA is made clear in the fourth commandment, to honor father and mother. But we would certainly not be presumptuous to assume that you haven't been doing that, for we know you have within the community of the church throughout all of your lives. But what we would ask you to do humbly is that you would join us and grow together with us in keeping the promise in a very specific way through the mission God has laid upon us through this Keeping the Promise campaign.
It is my pleasure to introduce Kay Leonard, Chair of the Lutheran Services for the Aging Board of Trustees, and Ted Goins, President of LSA, to tell us about the Keeping the Promise campaign.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I have known about Lutheran Services for the Aging and their phenomenal discipleship for almost my entire life. My mother, my father, and my brother have all been served by Lutheran Home at Trinity Oaks in Salisbury. The Lutheran Home was there when we needed help. My uncle, Pastor John Pless, was the first full-time executive director of LSA, and I have been on the LSA board for 7 years. I have witnessed tremendous growth in the size of LSA over the last 50 years. The need for quality senior services is tremendous, and the time is now. Between the year 2000 and 2030, the population of North Carolina adults over the age of 65 is anticipated to grow by 125%. That would represent 1.1 million people. LSA is growing to address those needs. We do have a very ambitious $75 million growth plan to implement over the next 5 years. I'm excited about the future of LSA, a ministry that means so very much to me and my family, and certainly a ministry that means much to all older adults and families across our Synod. Thank you.